started. My name is Andrea Miriam. I'm with the Parkinson Movement Disorder Alliance. Thank you so much for kicking off your Monday with us. I'm joining you from outside Phoenix, Arizona, so it is noon for me. Our guest today, Dr. Becky Farley, is just a little bit down I-10 in Tucson. And I don't know where all of you are, but if you'd like, you can enter in the chat where you're joining us from. So we'll all know what corner of the world people are in. If you don't know where the chat is, if you hover over the video, a bottom taskbar will pop up. And oh, I see some people found it. Let's see, California, Arizona, Tustin, Mesa, surprise, Florida, finally, East Coaster. Well, good afternoon to John in Florida. Hi there. And Gerald, it looks like you're in Alaska with the northern lights behind you, but that just must be one of those fancy green screens. Well, welcome. So good to see everyone from all around the country. Today we're here to talk about exercise. Oh, there's Dr. Subramanian. Ooh, a new background. You're outside today. Beautiful. Well, we're here to talk about exercise, and we couldn't have picked a better guest to join us. So I'll turn it over to our facilitator, Dr. Subramanian, and I'll let you and Dr. Becky Farley take it from here.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is a real background. It's real green and sunny in Southern California, so happy to be outside for a change of scenery. It's with great pleasure that I am here with Becky Farley today. She's been a really amazing mentor in terms of her ability to combine some things that I'm really passionate about, which is Parkinson's patients, exercise, and she's also done some research as well, which I'm not nearly as good at as she is at all, but she's really managed to wear a number of hats and do some really innovative things. And so I wanted to have her come and join us today. I've been trying to emulate some of what she's done in the yoga world. What she's really been doing is training physical therapists, and Boss Blom, who was on last week, and some other folks have really talked about, and we met some of our folks from Reactive earlier, Julie Hirschberg here in Southern California, about the importance of people like physical therapists and allied health professionals understanding a lot about a disease state and being kind of your champions as patients and caregivers to really help you bring out the best and understand the safety issues and train other folks that are also in their field, physical therapists, yoga teachers, things like that, about their passion and how they've learned how to take care of you patients. And so I wanted to bring Becky on to inspire us a little bit. She's been doing some fancy footwork, just trying to keep the dream alive out there in Tucson with her patients and keep them motivated. She also believes, as we do, that exercise is medicine. And so I'll just teach you a little bit about her. So she has a PhD, actually. I think will tell us a little bit about why she chose to work with Parkinson's patients, but she actually worked with a colleague of mine, Dr. Sherman, out at the University of Arizona, and ended up getting inspired by the patients that were walking past her office, she told me, to see him, and thought, oh, well, maybe I could put my physical therapy hat on and think about how to help these patients specifically with Parkinson's. And that's, I think, become kind of her life passion. So she founded the Parkinson Wellness Recovery Program, and that's based out in Tucson. I had the pleasure of stopping by her gym. She has a retreat every year as well with patients with Parkinson's. It's really been thinking about the whole body amplitude focused exercise for Parkinson's disease. And she's created some digital stuff now that's virtual, a whole library of things to offer. And I wanted to bring her on so that she could introduce a little bit about what she's doing and have you get a taste of what she has up on her website. And, you know, I think they've been doing some pretty amazing things. So I've had a number of my patients go out and learn from her, and she gives talks all over the world, all over the country, training people. And so welcome, Becky.
Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here. It's kind of lonely here, and so it's nice to hear from a lot of different people, even though I can't see you.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot of people on the participants thing, so it looks like people are interested in learning about this, and I think you're going to give us a taste of some of the exercises that you're doing. But before we get there, I wanted to find out about why you became a physical therapist and also why you chose to work with Parkinson's patients.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go back that far, but I became a physical therapist. Actually, it's interesting because my grandfather had a stroke, and I was in high school, and I went to his therapy appointments,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was like, I want to do that. And that was back in the days before neuroplasticity was actually a word. And I mean, it was more like learning was just beginning to take, you know, to energize our profession. So, but I actually did pediatric rehab for 7 to 10 years. And I became more interested in wanting to change. I wanted to develop neuroplasticity principled exercise for children. And so I went to school to get a PhD here in Tucson at the University of Arizona. And I didn't do anything with pediatrics. There wasn't anything here. I was working on insects and other projects. But during my postdoc, I had the opportunity to shadow Dr. Sherman. And I was able to start seeing people with him with Parkinson's. And I got involved in the literature, and we did some projects in this motor control lab, and one thing led to another. So I fell in love with trying to, I went from pediatrics to wanting to change exercise for people with Parkinson's, because back in, even 10 years ago, the word exercise for brain change was really maybe in animals being talked about, but it was still like a new thing in for people with Parkinson's. So I was just determined to try and create a more comprehensive and neuroplasticity principled program.
That's really amazing. And you've done a great job. I mean, how many people do you think you've trained at this point, therapists, to work with our patients?
Between physical and occupational therapists, and we also have workshops for fitness professionals, probably close to 5,000 people. Because I've also, so I've been teaching and training since 2005. That's when I started teaching. And so that's a lot of people. I can't believe it.
That's amazing. Because we talked a little bit about with, I think it was Dr. Oken, about the fact that a lot of patients in the country don't have access to a doctor, a neurologist who trains even in Parkinson's, or even a general neurologist in general. And so I think you have actually gone to, we talked about that, some places that are far and wide that maybe you were invited by the support group leader or a therapist. And so in a perfect world, we'd all have, a movement doctor in every city and a therapist to work with them and all these other things. But I think for now, I think we need to figure out other ways to work together, use our resources. And so I think this is a really beautiful call today with you as an educator and as a leader in your field, as a therapist, and then a doctor, and then a support group like this, which is using technology and training people, and we can actually reach every corner possibly of the world with this sort of avenue. So I think it's exciting. But tell me a little bit about some of the places that you've gone and maybe the real world experience of this sort of rural or lack of access to care.
Well, first I have to say that people with Parkinson's are they are our best advocates, because we've had people visit the gym, or they come to a retreat, or they hear about exercise through the internet or through word of mouth, grassroots, and they have changed their own communities. They've taken it upon themselves to raise the money to send a local fitness professional or therapist to get trained and learn more about Parkinson's and exercise. They've hosted us to come out and do workshops, and they've done all the footwork for us. They've even raised money to pay for everything. So we've been to places where maybe they were sometimes smaller, 10 or 20 25 participants. Sometimes people with Parkinson's have sent their local therapists and fitness professionals to us at one of our other host sites. And that way, when the person comes back to their community, they have those people as a resource for therapy and fitness. So it is remarkable. And some of our best memories are sometimes those workshops, because we know they're going to be successful, and that when we leave, those people with Parkinson's are going to come to those therapists, they're going to go to the group classes, they're going to help build the resources in the local community, because they're so bought in.
Yep. So what kind of places? Can you mention a few towns that you've been to?
Oh, I don't even know if I can think of the towns. I just remember trying to find them on my GPS. And I would end up like in Pennsylvania down a dirt road, and yeah, I can't really think of.
You said South Dakota, I think you told me about, right?
Oh, yes. So in South Dakota, that was fascinating. And again, it was really one of their first Parkinson's specialized training programs they've ever had in the area. So there were a lot of local people that came, therapists and fitness that came to it. And we always have volunteers help us in the workshops, volunteers as in people with Parkinson's. And we had plenty of volunteers. Like, they were just dying for this opportunity to have a specialist in their area. So
that's amazing. And you're also very open-minded, I feel like. We've talked about, you've been an inspiration from my yoga interests and kind of trying to emulate the program that you have with training yoga teachers about Parkinson's. And I think that you've been very fit yourself, I've noticed, and you felt like, what are the things that you tell your patients to motivate them, and what kind of exercises and what kind of, prescription of medicines are you guys thinking is the best for our patients with Parkinson's?
Well, it's a hard one because there's so many. First of all, you have to do more than you think you can. And when you do it, you're going to think it's too hard or too big, or you're going to think, oh, I can't move like that in my everyday life, or I can't, so there is this huge need for people to know they can do more and they need to do more. So in fact, I think that's why I got so involved in working with people with Parkinson's, is they have this amazing, it's almost like it's a hidden potential. Mm-hmm. And when they get the right resources, and when they're working with a therapist or fitness professional that knows how to tap in to that, then the person experiences their full potential. And once they feel it and they get used to what it feels like to move like more normally, even though it feels awkward, then that's this magic. That's when the magic happens. Once they, feel, oh, I can do things I didn't think I could do.
So kind of push yourself with the guidance of a teacher is your first thought, yeah?
Yeah, I think people, they really need coaches. They really need that feedback.
Okay. And you mentioned fitness professionals, but also the word physical therapist. Can you tell us a little bit about currently, I guess at least in this country, about the training for being a physical therapist versus maybe a health coach or a personal trainer, or what are these other names of people, like, so that our audience can know, what to look for on websites that they have access to and things in their own communities?
Yeah, so physical therapists now come out with a DPT. It's a clinical doctorate, and that takes up to 6 years. And many of them then specialize in neurorehabilitation, neurological rehab. And those are usually the ones that take our workshops, but not always. We get people of all kinds of backgrounds in physical therapy. But, we're really specialized. And yeah, and I think it's the same for occupational therapy. It's a 4 to 6 year program. So, and I think the advantage of the therapist is we have a little bit more of that background in motor control, in medical kinds of terminology and understanding, so that we can really help with some of those barriers, and really maybe even home in more for a personalized approach for people that come to see us. And then your healthcare or your fitness professionals, often just have a background in science or health or public health, and they go get certified through these national organizations for fitness through a certification process, so it's not licensed. But many of them that specialize in Parkinson's are incredible, and they've really taken the time to go to extra training, just like our therapists do, where they really have learned a lot, and some of them work specifically with Parkinson's, just like therapists become so interested in it that that's all you want to do.
Yeah, sure. So one other question. So I've read some of the literature, and I've written a chapter about exercise and the effects on the neurological system. Maybe just you could summarize, in your opinion, what a couple of the take-home points of what you think the literature says about like physical therapy and exercise for Parkinson's patients. And then I will ask you a follow-up question to that, not to overwhelm you.
So you're really more interested in like, what have they shown that exercise, how it benefits people?
Yeah, just a few sentences and to break them.
Well, I'm biased because I think basically people with Parkinson's get better at what they practice. That's the magic, because they can get better if they focus their practice. So their gait can improve, their strength can get better, their coordination can get better. You can have almost anything they practice. That's why there really is not one approach for Parkinson's, because it's not one problem. And so yes, that's what I would tell a person with Parkinson's. You can get better at what you practice. I can guarantee it. It just takes certain types and lots of practice, lots of repetition, but also good feedback and training.
And the follow-up question to that, which I think you kind of led into quite beautifully with that answer, is with our regular healthcare system, so Medicare, things like that, usually they pay for about 10 sessions maybe, and often for a reason. How would you say that one can motivate patients, or what are the things that you've found successful to motivate people in your, gym and your space to keep going past those sessions? Because I think we all know that the beauty of physical therapy and working with somebody intensively is that people get better, and they definitely get better from start to finish. But then the question that I have is how to keep people at that level so that they're not losing the benefits that they've attained.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge in Parkinson's, because there's so many Parkinson's barriers that make it difficult for people to sustain the motivation and to sustain the effort over time, and then to actually even to perceive that they need it. They don't even always perceive that they've gotten worse, or that they're not maintaining those benefits. So that's part of the disease, and that's why they need a coach ongoing. They need to have a person that's going to call them monthly, that's going to do a tune-up or have them come in for just a recheck. We can't discharge people, and it's also why they really need a group connection, social connections, ideally with their classmates, so that they all make sure each other are at class and check on each other. So yes, I think it's really hard to expect someone with Parkinson's to maintain this type of ongoing effort and practice that it takes by themselves. They need a team, and they need constant like feedback, and it's not just because we all need it, it's especially important for people with Parkinson's.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of non-motor issues that sometimes get in the way, but some of those same non-motor issues can actually get better with exercise as well. That's amazing. Well, okay, so let's have you maybe teach us a little bit, Becky. You can, I know that there were a few types of things you wanted to cover, and so I will leave the floor to you.
Okay, I just want to start with talking about what makes exercise Parkinson specific, okay? Because, all exercise is good for you. So, but what could you do to really home in on, your symptoms and what bothers you the most? Because that's actually one of the ways we're going to motivate you to keep you exercising, is to make sure we home in on, oh, so if your posture bothers you, if the fact you have lost your balance confidence bothers you, or if you're rigid and you have some pain, we have to target those things. So I'm going to show you 4 skills that this is really our program. It's like, these 4 skills are not magic, and you can do them anywhere, anytime. So you can integrate them into your boxing, your yoga, your walking in the morning. But we've developed a whole exercise program around them. And so I'm just going to show you what they are and kind of take you through, you know, a little bit of explanation and feeling what those skills are, because these skills are important, especially for everyday movement. So let me get up off the floor. So this is our, I didn't tell you, but we're in the, we're very lonely here because everyone's at home and we're in the gym, and this is our virtual gym studio. And I want to show you these 4 skills in standing, but we actually do them on the floor and sitting and all different ways. So first we're going to go and we're going to strengthen your extensors. We call it power up. So all the muscles on the back side of your body get weak in Parkinson's, mainly because the front side of your body, the muscles get too activated. They get those are the flexors, the rigid muscles. So they pull you into flexion. So you have to constantly overcome those and counteract that flexion by extension. Okay? So I want you to feel it. So I like to use cues, and when you feel stuff on your back and your head, it's easier. So I'm going to stand here and kind of get small, and then I want you to move as big and strong as you can into extension, pushing into the floor, powering up so my head is even pushing back, my arms are going back. Nice breath, and then exhale. So you want to always move with your biggest range of motion. My hips are back, my hands are in front. Inhale. And that's where you want to put your effort, on the extension, not the flexion. It's here. It's that acceleration and that activation. So that's what we call power up. It's the most important thing you can do all day. If you don't stay powered up, then it's easier to fall because your weight's going forward. If you don't stay powered up, it's actually hard to take a step because you're kind of right here in the middle. So if I power up, it's much easier for me to get going and to be in good posture and alignment. So next, I'm just going to show you a weight shift. Think of all the things. This is the next second most important one. If you can't weight shift, you can't get going in life, okay? That's why people freeze, because they're not shifting their weight. So you have to over-exaggerate it in training. So this is one way you could do it. I'm going to rock to the side and touch something. So it's way outside of my limits, so you can feel all your weight, okay? Then I'm going to go to the other side and rock. And I'm not going to be flexed. I'm going to stay powered up, okay? So everything is extended. And you're going to rock side to side. It's okay to use targets and cues, because then you'll do more than you thought you could do, right? It's going to feel huge. But then when you go and you start to turn, then you're able to rock and take your steps and move, okay? It's critical for balance. You can shift your weight, by the way, any way you want. You can shift forward and backwards. It doesn't matter. So the third one is rotation of your spine. So many of you may feel tired throughout the day and kind of like, whew, that was hard. Part of it is because your movements are not very efficient, because your spine is rigid from those muscles, and it makes you move very awkwardly in a way that's not natural. So instead of, because everything moves like a log, so we want you to move more fluidly, right? Because it's more efficient. So you have to have axial mobility from your head all the way through your feet and pelvis. So we work on doing a twist. So start off in your nice powered up position. We call this a powered T. And I'm going to take my hand across my body and just twist and let my hips come around. Look and open. Make sure you're planted into the ground. Other side, go and look behind you and open. So one thing about spinal movement is if you do it rhythmically with a lot of, I'm going to go in and just touch the chair because you can see how much further I can go. All right. That rhythmical back and forth motion helps get rid of some of that rigidity. So you're targeting your symptoms as well as you're targeting the mobility problems. The last one is a power step. And you know, you can step on your stomach. You have to be able to step with your arms and legs to get up from the floor. Basically, it just means changing your position in space. You've got to move around. You don't want to stay in the same place all the time. So you have to be able to take good quality steps. So again, it's really nice to do it with targets, walls, and a hallway so that you can go further. And then you have to come back to this middle powered up position, not here, but right here. And we're going to go to the other side and step. So we do a lot of transitional movements in all kinds of directions that we practice. And this is just like the foundational 4 skills. And that's what I was going to show. So I hope you all understand a little bit more about why, you know, what is it that makes your exercise Parkinson specific? If whatever class you go to, whatever exercise program you go to, if you integrate those kinds of skills, you're going to benefit even more as a person with Parkinson's from that class.
That's great. Boss had come on and talked about trying to get some cardio in as well. What are your recommendations around getting your heart rate up? Or he actually taught us that, you know, Parkinson's patients often have a hard time getting their heart rate up. So cardio, you know, may not be that you're having but maybe to pant. So maybe tell us a little tips about your sense of, you know, that cardio kind of exercise.
Jennifer, who's here with me, is just about to film a cardio segment. So, yes, you need to do something every day. And it doesn't have to be on equipment. It can be those movements I just did. If I did 20 of them and I kept going on and on to the next, I could have raised my heart rate a whole lot just with whole body functional movements. So my favorite cardio, besides it should be something you'll do, my favorite cardio is to combine raising my heart rate with something that's going to also help me in terms of my ability to move for people with Parkinson's. In other words, it'd be great if you could improve and get 2 for 1. So when you walk on a treadmill, you can raise your heart rate and you can improve your gait pattern so you walk better and faster. So bigger steps, faster speeds. So you kind of get 2 for 1. So if any of you like to hike and you use poles, you can get a really good workout because when you add your arms, your heart rate can go up to 20% more than without using your arms. And it forces you to use your whole body, right? It's a forced use practice. And you can be outdoors and it's beautiful and it's much more interesting than, you know, staring out of a window on the treadmill. So I guess pole walking would be my favorite because I love to be outside and I like to use my whole body, and it makes me feel safe because I have these poles and I can probably do things outside I wouldn't do without the poles. So
yeah, that's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about what your concepts are with stretching for Parkinson's as well? Because we talked a little bit about the power moves, some cardio. Maybe tell us a little bit about stretching.
Yeah, you can't do enough of it. mainly because of the rigidity. You have to stay on top of it. It's the #1 problem I see. No matter how hard people exercise, in the end, if you don't have enough stretching, it shows up. We can see it in the way your posture and how it affects your balance. So I believe in active stretching I mean, I feel like that when a person is using their extension to stretch all of those tight flexor muscles actively, one, they're paying attention, so they're getting something out of it cognitively, plus strengthening the extensors and sustaining that. So floor work is a really great way to take advantage of gravity and let gravity help you even more. So laying on your back every single day. The floor is your friend. You need to be in contact with the floor. You need all that sensory feedback. I'm sitting on the floor right now on a pillow. So it's really important to stretch every day. It doesn't mean you have to crank and just spend lots of time, but I think some of the muscles people forget about are their hamstrings and their dorsiflexors and their ankle. And then of course you can't do enough stretch for your shoulders and upper spine. So it's an everyday thing. You have to do it. If you don't like yoga, do the power moves and just hold them. Find some other kind of way to relax and stretch. Act as much actively. I think there are just some people though who are so, maybe they've always had tight hamstrings, so it's going to take even extra help for them to really stretch adequately.
Sure. I'm just going to take a few questions, and then maybe I'm going to have you, Becky, and maybe you can think about it, or you're going to be multitasking right now. Maybe think about, I want you to maybe show us a stretch or two for the hamstrings. Maybe you could back up a little bit so we can see it on the floor. And then maybe you have the chair there. Maybe you could show us some of the power stuff from the chair, because not all of our folks at home necessarily could do the standing series. So maybe we could just do a few of those. And I think you also have some hand exercises too that we might have some time for at the end, but we'll see. But I'm going to take a few of these questions here. So one is a stationary bike question. Student Acer asks, my stationary bike is just set for speed, not RPMs. How fast should I go? I turn on music at 80 beats per minute. Is that a good way to push myself?
Yeah, awesome. So that's a good point, and I didn't address it earlier. One, if you're on the bike, your goal is to spin your legs as fast as possible. To me, that's the #1 goal. And if you can spin them as much as 60 to 80 RPM. She doesn't have an RPM. Oh, okay. Then using your 80 beats per minute. If that's easy, if you can keep this going, then you can add some resistance, right? It's a balance between speed and resistance. And you want to have the right heart. You want to feel like you can talk, but just short sentences. And if you find that this is not that hard, that 80 RPM, because you're not adding resistance, and add a little bit of resistance. So you have to find that what feels hard, what feels like you're working beyond a comfort level. We do the talk test here at the gym, because we do 30 minutes of aerobics at every class. And if I go up to someone and they're talking in sentences, I'm like, you are not working out hard enough. Like, you gotta go and raise it. So, but I love that you're using the music with 80 RPMs, and that's great. Just, and if it's really, if you increase the resistance and you get tired, that's all right. Back off, give yourself a 30-second or a 1-minute break, and do it again. And do intervals. Interval training is very efficient. So if you can't hold that high rate, just do little intervals of 1 minute on, 1 minute off.
Perfect. Okay, people want to know about your retreat and about where they can get more videos. So the Magical Fingers of the PMD Alliance have put some resources here. I do want to spend a minute or two talking about the retreat though. Somebody wrote about Dr. Sherman. He saved me from severe depression. Yay. Bev said that. So happy to hear that. I love Dr. Sherman, and he works in our VA consortium. And so I've been lucky to come out there to the Tucson VA and check out the gym as well on the way. That was a fun day. And then Andrea had said that basically the 5,000 people that you've trained are touching more people. So if you think about probably all the people that you've touched in some way, Becky, that's pretty crazy, amazing. So it's completely in awe of that. Okay, so then somebody wrote, Robert wrote, after many, many people continue to emphasize the importance of exercise, I was convinced. However, exercise for me was just plain boring. The game changer for me was to put up a monitor in front of the treadmill and connect YouTube and Netflix. So my request is, how can we make exercise fun? I think somebody talked about music already and watching something. You also talked about groups and having somebody harass you when you don't show up because you didn't come. So, you know, having that person make sure that you come to the group event. Any other thoughts, Becky, on making things?
Actually, well, one, we have a lot of fun around here. Fun is something easy to find here, but you could do something like, you need to have goals. So you need to think, can I walk at my best, fastest speed for so many minutes, and or can I go so many miles in each workout, and add your mileage up so that maybe you want to go visit the Space Needle in Washington, right? We've done that in our gym before. We set a distance and said, we're going to all go visit the Space Needle virtually. So we have to be able to ride 100 miles in a month. I don't know, but you can set goals like that. And that's one of the reasons you need to see, I believe, you need to get a therapist to help you set your exercise prescription, who can really get to know you and, you know, set goals. And you need to change your goals probably every month or two, you know, so that you're always like, oh yeah, I've done that. I've done it. I got to do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Boss had said, try to exercise until you're panting, basically, is what he had said. And
Yeah.
then I think he also has he said something about a Pac-Man game. They've done some gamified exercises on the bike, I guess,
Yeah.
in the Netherlands. So, and I think you've been working with that group as well, and training around the Parkinson net, as well as your own retreat. So maybe take a few minutes and teach us about those two things, your international experience with the Parkinson net gang, and what you've been doing with your work in Europe. I think you went to Norway. You've been to some pretty amazing places, and spreading this amazing, you know, knowledge all over. And then I also want to take a minute or two to talk about the retreat and possibly what you're going to offer this year in place of or in the future about, you know, retreats post-COVID.
Yeah. You know, I'm always, when we get the opportunity to go to Europe, and Malaysia and some other places like that, I'm always fascinated by the commitment and the motivation that the therapists and fitness professionals have for helping people with Parkinson's, for one, and how they love to get the details. You know, it's like so exciting. And plus we learn so much from them, because our healthcare system is really, you know, one thing, it's different everywhere. But the same problems exist everywhere, you know, in terms of people with Parkinson's accessing services, and, you know, having access to this for life. Like, it's not enough to just go to a great therapist one time and have one exercise class. You need ongoing services to really combat the disease and stay on top of it. So, yeah, we've been thrilled to be able to go train people in other places. And ironically, we have our first Italian faculty who was here. He left on February 29th. He barely made it back to Italy, but for the issues with COVID. And he's very excited to start doing workshops there in Italian, so I don't have to have a translator. So we're trying to expand, and yeah, we learn as we go, and from other people and how they do things, and how do you develop Parkinson specific therapies and exercise everywhere. And it's often not us, it's the people we train who go and find ways to make it work in their own communities.
Absolutely. There's also been a push to try to get people with Parkinson's to get seen by a therapist, even on day one of diagnosis.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, you know, sometimes people don't want to go to therapy because they think, well, I don't have any problems. Well, if you didn't have a movement problem, you wouldn't have been diagnosed, because the primary thing that, you know, a neurologist like you look for is, do people have bradykinesia? Are they moving slower or smaller in their everyday life? And so we can address that in therapy already. We can help you. We want you to stay on top of things too. Like, don't wait till you feel like you have a problem, because you have to fight, you know, you're going to take months to get that back to your normal, right? So we want to start with people at the beginning and empower them, one, about the things they can do, and educate them on, you know, all the resources, and then actually have you rehearse. So we want to have you rehearse all these different types of Parkinson's exercises so you know what they feel like, and so you set goals from day one. It's just like every time you go see your doctor for a medication check, a tune-up, you want to go to your therapist and check to see if your exercise and functional programs are, you know, where they should be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree. I think that empowering patients from day one makes a lot of sense, and then checking in frequently and having a cohort of folks that can reach out and connect with each other so that you get the benefits of the social connection along with the exercise, which I think is huge for sure. So that's amazing. So Kathy wrote, how long should you sustain the panting for, or the, you know, the not being able to talk?
So it all depends upon your vigor, how hard you're working, and also your level of fitness. So so we like to do bouts of intensity. 10 minutes is the shortest duration physiologically to really benefit. So you want to build up to 10 minutes. And truthfully, for Parkinson's, I think you need to do something 5 to 7 days a week. You need to be out of breath, working hard. Even if you don't have to hold it the entire 30 or 40 minutes, but you want to be trying to work during that period of time, working hard, even if you're on and off during that time. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a heavy duty prescription, but we know that for people without Parkinson's, that 3 days a week or 5 days a week of exercise is kind of required for brain health and fitness. So when you have a neurodegenerative disease, you really need brain health. You really need the benefits of being fit. And so you don't always have to work out at your absolute max, but you've got to do something harder on a regular daily basis.
Yeah. We have patients here who run the LA Marathon every year after getting diagnosed. They're amazing. So my patients inspire me very regularly with their ability to really, you know, reach those goals and set high goals for themselves and attain them. And I do think that, you know, I've had patients who come in and we diagnose them, we get them exercising, and they literally come back a year later and say, I'm in the best shape of my life that I've ever been because of exercising regularly. So in some ways, people see the silver linings and have actually empowered themselves so dramatically, and then tell everybody else in the waiting room about it. So I think when you have those stories, and you showed me a video, I think, Becky, of a man that had come in who could barely move out of bed, and you know, had him doing some balloon chasing by the end of a few weeks in your hands. So I think, you know, this is a very interesting disease in the sense that the mind and the body are very connected. If you have a will, there's a way, I find, with a lot of our patients, and it's just a matter of finding the right doctor to get you on a good regimen. So we're not saying to replace pills by exercise, by no means, but that they go hand in hand from, you know, really early on. I feel like day one, if possible, to get, you know, the right lifestyle approaches. And I agree. I think exercising daily is a good strategy, maybe 1 day off or something. But I think if you get into the habit, you look almost forward to it and you miss it when it's not there. Whereas I think if you do it only 3 times a week or once a week, it's sort of like easy to kind of put it off to a different day. I know that's for me been the case. So
you know,
yes.
And that's why I like to, I always tell myself I'm going to exercise every day, because I know I really won't. But you say that because then, you know, there's always something that comes up on a day or two, and I don't feel guilty about it then. So
yeah, no, I think trying to aim for every day, and then if you can get, you know, a day or two a week not doing it rather than a day or two of doing it. All right, let me see those moves on the floor, if you could. Just maybe back up a little bit so we
I
can
thought
see.
of one more thing. You know, it's exercise does, you know, exercise is a structured, goal-directed sort of training, but all throughout the day, your level of physical activity is the higher level category, right? And what you know, if you go and work out 3 times a week and then you go home and do absolutely nothing in your life, you don't do chores, you don't go outside, you know, that almost negates your effort. Like the reason you exercise, to me, for Parkinson's is so you can continue to do all of those everyday activities more, so that you really, that's where your motivation comes from. You can play with your grandchildren, you can go bowling, you can go out hiking, you can do the hobbies and things you like to do. So yeah, don't think that all exercise has to be at 100% heart rate and all that. So do you want, I'll show you maybe a couple of.
Yeah, we have about 14 minutes left. I want you to have 2 or 3 minutes to give us an inspiring close. So I will leave you the rest of the time to tell us what you want. You could do some of the hand exercises if you like. I think it would be cool because we couldn't really see you doing the hamstring stretches because you were so close to the camera. So if you want to do a few of those and then maybe back up to the chair as well. I mean, back up definitely with the stretches on the floor, and then maybe show us a few power movements in the chair just so we can get a range of, you did the standing ones, and then, you know, what I want this to be accessible to even the most, you know, not so mobile patients at home.
Okay, I'll show you several things. And then do you want me just to mention the retreat at the end, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, we forgot about the retreat. Yes, tell us a little bit about the retreat.
Well, the reason I just wanted to mention it mostly is, well, this, we had to cancel it would have been our 9th annual retreat. Ever since I started the nonprofit, the first thing we did was do a retreat. And the reason we developed the retreat concept was because I wish everyone with Parkinson's at diagnosis could experience what you feel at a retreat. 7 days, 6 nights with other people with Parkinson's and their partners, where you're totally immersed in Parkinson's specific exercise. You feel it, you're around other people, and you realize you're okay and that there's something you can do about it. And I just wish everyone at diagnosis one day, so I wish we could do that. So because we had to cancel it, we are looking into having a virtual retreat in the future, because we realized we've taken the time to put together a lot of videos over the last 5 weeks so that we could, what we do in the gym, we're now trying to offer all of these group classes and therapy things online as sort of virtual power gym. And that's the beginning of a retreat. So we want to build on that and then offer more education. But I do think there are other people doing short retreats, 3-day retreats, boot camps, and I just recommend that those are really empowering, and that's important.
A way to kickstart things a little bit, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, it's the perfect way to kickstart. So, okay, I'm going to show you a couple of things on the floor, just so you can see. No matter, you know, you don't want to be fearful of the floor because then you're at a higher risk to fall. So you need to start day 1 getting on the floor every day, because that process of getting up and down and laying down on the floor, it's a great place to relax and stretch, and it's going to give you confidence, you know. So I'll show you a couple of things. So if I lay here, that will work.
Good.
So there's one, it's always important to know how to get on the floor. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways. You want to stand with your wide base of support, right? So that you can, if you can just lower yourself down to one hand here, right? So I can control, and my hand, and I can come down this way. You can also use a chair in any position you want. So I can have it in front of me and just come down. So you can see we have a nice, this is 10 foot by 10 foot. It's a nice area for exercise right here that you could create in your home. And I'm gonna start coming down on my stomach. People do not like to be on their stomach, but it's the best place to work against gravity, right? Strengthen all those extensor muscles. And so simply being comfortable on the floor. Find a way to be comfortable. We use pillows, whatever it takes to, by just, instead of being here, if I push into the floor and activate my hips, keep my feet apart, I'm already working against gravity and stretching all these muscles on the front side of my body. So my posture, I'm working on my posture right now. So we have a whole series of exercises that you can do here. But if all you did is just lay on your stomach and find a comfortable way to be here and hang out, listen to some music. All right, you're doing a lot. The other thing is I'm going to go on and roll over on my back because it's my other favorite position. And you want to take up space, right? You don't want to be here. You want to feel like you can be here. Take a deep breath. And again, you want to be flat on the floor. And then you can do a whole series of exercises. Maybe for this one, we're going to step with one foot and twist, right? And then open, down. Just alternate, stepping and reaching. So it's a twist. And I'll do one more each side. Step and twist, go as far as you can. And open. Switch legs, step and twist. And the reason I showed you that one is because if you want to get up from the floor or get out of bed, all you have to do is step and reach, and you've already done most of the work. So it's a functional exercise, and it prepares you for that kind of movement, getting out of bed, up and down off the floor. So I think I'll take you through a seated routine. Okay.
Oh, no, I would move it forward.
Yep. Okay.
Right there. There you go, Becky.
I'm kind of messed up here. Let's see. So all of you can do this. All you need is a chair. And I'm going to go on and we're going to do all four of them together. And I'll just go slow with you. We always like to prepare people, and then we're going to activate with more effort. So I'll do the first one slow. We call this a flow because we make sequence. We're going to combine these movements into sequences, which really makes you pay attention. So start with your legs open and inhale. And come forward. And think about reaching out in front of you, right? Look ahead of you so that you really get that strength. You can hold the floor if you can reach it, or you can have something in front of you and then sit up. And power up, so you're using your arms to push yourself up. All right, that's your power up. Then we're going to go to your left side. So I'm going to lean over on this side and kick my foot out of the way, push it out of the way, all right? And then reach up. And inhale and exhale. So the same thing, the goal here is, right, to shift your weight, get your weight off of this side of the hip. So go way over as far as you can go and reach up, push down into that knee, and inhale. Okay, then we're going to do a twist, just like I just did on the floor, with my arms open. I'm going to start here with your left arm, and reach it across and just clap, and keep looking behind you. And open all the way. And then go the other side. Twist and clap, and open. And then, all right, so we're back to the center. Then we're going to do a step, and don't let me forget the stretch. I know I need to do that. But I'm going to first step to the side. So I'm going to step and reach, and together. So you're stepping high, you're letting your arm go with your legs, step over, and together. All right, so those are 4 different skills that now we're going to put together. And just follow with me, and we would practice this multiple times, but I want to get you a sense of the flow. And I'll focus mostly on breathing while we do this. So inhale, exhale, come forward, and then really power up as you inhale. Great. And then rock over to that left side, reach up with an inhale, look up, and back to the center. Good. Rock to the side, push with that leg, look up as you inhale, and back to the center. Good. And we're going to inhale here, open all the way up, powered up, and twist. And look behind you as you exhale. Inhale, let that breath support you, and exhale. And inhale, and bring it together. Good. So now we're going to step, so you're going to inhale and exhale. So nice and high, whole body, so that you're stepping 90 degrees, looking where you're going and back. Good, and then we'll get back to this position. So, okay, so that's a little sampler. There's so much you can do in sitting. One last stretch before we do hands is you could, I'm going to turn this way so you can see. Probably one of the best places to stretch your hamstrings and your leg all together. You could use a strap, right? If I had a towel or just a little band, I could pull my foot. But even just by reaching forward, reaching as you stay powered, you don't want to do this. The goal is to get your leg locked out strong. Then you can come forward and try to keep it straight. You're going to feel a good stretch as you do this. It feels good. It's good for low back pain, which is very common for a lot of people. So, right, so Indu, if you want, I can just do a little bit of a hand action.
Yeah, like do a minute with the hands, and then let's like have you give us a little inspirational goodbye. Yeah, come up to the screen so we can see your pretty face.
So I want everybody to do this with me. So your hands need to exercise just like the rest of your body. I just want you to know that Parkinson's, of course, affects more than just your walking, your legs, or your arms. It affects your breathing. It affects, so you got to practice breathing. You've got to practice the eyes, because your eyes need to be like moving big and helping you move. And you have to practice the voice, of course. You need to be loud. And the hands. So if you get frustrated with your tremor, this is one way to have like a temporary control over it. And if you have problems with writing and doing anything with dexterity, this is a great little begin. We have many of these, but this is a basic. So let's power up your hands. So just open them up, spaces between the fingers, okay? Pull the hands back. All right, so that's my powered hands. Let's do that 10 times. 1, 2, and really look at them. Pay attention. Are they open? Do they look the same? Are your elbows straightening? So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so you did your, let it out. Okay, shake it out. Now we're gonna rock with your hands. So we made it up like this. So we're gonna rock one hand up and one hand down while you keep them powered, okay? Here we go again. Down, so just alternate. Again, try to keep those elbows locked out. It's a lot of work. You're strengthening all of those extensors in your fingers. Good. Let's do one more each side. All right. So these muscles are what you need to be able to pick things up. The inside of your hands are, again, they're like your flexors of your spine. They're too tight and stiff, and you've got to over and counteract that with the opposite. Okay, and then we're gonna do a twist. So right there, I'm just gonna, if that bothers your shoulders, you can just lower them down, it doesn't matter. Okay, so right there, I'm gonna do them together the same, kind of open and close, like you're turning a doorknob, but make sure you go all the way. And by the way, stay powered up, all right? No flexion, stay up there tall. Okay, let's shake that out. And now we'll really put that to the test because we're going to step with our fingers. So you really want to emphasize closing and then open, like you're flicking something off of your nails, right? Close and open. And put all that intention and effort into the open. So open again, and just go from one finger to the other and open. So you're flicking. It's a lot of work. Let's do one more. So open, open, open. It's harder if your arms are even straighter. Good. So now go pick something up and write something, and you'll probably write differently just because you've paid so much attention to these muscles that you can generate more forces. So
that's so awesome. I think we did a standing sequence, a chair thing, a thing on the floor, and we did some hand things. And it's amazing how much just some hand stuff makes you feel stretched out in some places.
yeah.
And I noticed also that you're doing things with the breath, which I think is so important for the mind-body sort of experience, as well as connecting with our autonomic nervous system, which is that relaxation response. And so when we're doing these deep breaths, it really makes a difference. Becky, I'm just going to give you a minute to say something sort of in closing, and we have a lot of your resources they've already put in the side here. And I think somebody had asked a question about where you get a chair like that. So maybe you just speak about the chair and then a little closing inspiration. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Yes, so you want a sturdy chair, ideally without arms, because then you can move a lot better on the chair and make these whole body movements. So we just ordered these online. They're they're metal, sturdy chairs used often, I think, for conferences and things, or office.
Yeah.
They're not that expensive. So I know we got them online. So, but definitely the seats allow you to move easier than a cloth kind of a seat.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you all for listening and coming to the conference. I feel like, you know, this is a really hard time for us as well, because we're recognizing that we have to change how we do healthcare. And we thought we loved how we did it. We loved having 200 people here in classes like all day and therapy all day for people. But the social connection is so important. So being able to access you virtually, I think it's a new business model for us. And I hope that we can provide better services for you, even if you can't always come to a gym like we have in Tucson. So that's why we are making videos. And it's more than just the videos, though. We want to be able to connect with you through our telehealth, so we can see you as therapists. We can set goals for you. We can even do like assessments and get to know you, so that we can help you put together your best, you know, exercise routines. So
Awesome.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Becky. I know you're so busy and doing so many things, so I really appreciate it, and wanted to have you on anyways, outside of just this COVID timeframe. Thanks to the PMD Alliance, guys, and I think we've had some hand waving already, but we just wanted to say goodbye as a group. So I'll hand it over to the PMD Alliance again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Indu. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you to both of you. Yeah, now we have powered up hands to wave goodbye with. So we'll post, so many people asked about the Power website because they want this, to be able to access. So we put it in the chat. We'll put it with the recording as well. And then keep us, we'll stay tuned as that virtual retreat gets organized. We can help share the word for that too. I think there's a lot of interest there. And maybe the silver lining is, instead of not just people who can come to Power in Tucson, now everyone will be able to join Power. So thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Good to see everyone. Bye.
I love it.